Hello and welcome to the second season of the Indycar of the Future racing series hosted by the Global Online Racing Organization here. This is the first round of the second season here. We're at Tsukuba Circuit here in Japan, where we will be running the Fujibotsu 60, the 60-minute sprint race here around the small circuit here. And as we take a look around with one of the cars doing recon laps at the moment, that is the number 74 entry of Statis Kokoro-Giannis, and with 3 other entries set to embark on the second season of the first round of the Indycar of the Future season here. So now as we take a look at the grid here, we have the number 39 of the GT Boca Renaissance driven by Alexander Earhart. That is sitting first in the pit lane sequence. Then the second of the PRT competition entry of Alexander Heinen here. That entry having a strong presence in the IndyCar of the Future season. And then lastly here we have the championship winning car from the first season here. That is Mike Parapart of the very well-renowned Starship Enterprises team in that number 24 entry, the defending series champion, set to embark on the second season here of the IndyCar of the Future. So as we take a look at the rest of the field right now, we will load up the schedule here for season 2. Of course, round 1 held at Tsukuba for the Fujibotsu 60, the 60-minute race here. And then for next weekend, we go to Kyoto 60 for Yamajiwa, where we will race on that layout. And then in 2 weeks' time, we will go for the first of the 2 major long-term races here at the Northern 200 at the Northern Isle Speedway, where it will be 2 118 laps of racing. So that in general, that will be 236 lap race right there. And then we go to the tricky Bathurst 60 for Mount Panorama for the 60-minute race, and then Blue Moon 60 for the infield layout of Blue Moon Bay, and then finally on November 4th, we will take part to the season finale of the Blue Moon Bay 300 for the Blue Moon 300. That would be 150 laps of that race. And with all that said, we will commence in qualifying right here for the leader right here as the number 74 here makes its way. I'm not sure if that's on a qualifying lap or if that's on the out lap here, but it definitely sounds like a qualifying lap right there as he takes the final corner in number 74 entry. And what's the out? I'm sorry, it's going to be an out lap here near. He starts his first lap going into turn 1 here for the start of this qualifying lap right now, going towards the end of sector 1, the Estes section here for turns 2 and for turn 3 for a very sharp left-hander into turn 4. The 74 will be going, and then a sweeping right-hander and a sweeping left-hander make the remainder of sector 2. So you want to use up the curbs if you can, or if you're brave enough to, and then the full flat-out turn number 6, and then going in for turn number 7 here, the very long right-hander before you let the power down, and for the longest straight here on the circuit here, the back straight to the final corner, a very long, very hard sweeping right-hander. Gonna let on the brakes a little bit. He's rounding the final corner right there, and he's going to make his way towards the front pit straight. And what's it going to be? It's going to be a 50. Not sure. I don't have the time with me at the moment, but it is certainly going to be a 52 something. What is that going to be? It's going to be a 52. It's going to be a 54 flat for that driver right there. So we'll display all info. I guess it's not coming up right there. Toggle with the settings right there. So it's going to be a 55 flat apparently for that driver. And so now obviously that car going into the pits, it is going to be Alexander Earhart's turn for his set in the qualifying run. And with that, it's going to be 39 who makes his way to the track, the GT Boca Renaissance team. Now that car had a very strong running at the Blue Moon Bay 300. That was an end of the season entry. That car finished second after a late sequence of restarts and full course yellows, and he seemed to lead most of the race. However, was very shy of taking first, but barely took second, beating out the VERT Sport entry of Joe Famous, who's not here unfortunately. And he's going to go through the final corner right now, letting off the throttle, and then using up a wide and using up a very good bit of the curving. Oh, he goes really on the grass. He's really going to stretch out his track limits here for his qualifying lap right now. Into turn 1 he goes. And he is really going to be pushing that Red Bull X2014 Junior towards the end of the sector 1 right here in the SS section for turns 2 and 3, making it the very hard left-hander for turn 4. It's going to be very daring with this driver right here. He's going to try and take an early pole position, taking turn 5 with ease, turn 6 with ease, and the sector 2 for the very sharp right-hander of turn 7. This is a very short course, sub 1 minute laps here, and he's going to let the power out right here on this back straight right here. It's going to be the longest straight on the circuit right here, and he's going to certainly set himself up for the fastest corner on the circuit right here. The final sweeping right-hander, taking down about 110, 109 miles an hour. Very high speed right there. He goes on the dirt, and it's going to be a very fast. What's it going to be for the fast driver? It's going to be a 53 flat for that driver right there. So a 54, so it's going to be a 55 for Satis, Coco Giannis in the 74, and then the 53 flat for the number 39. Up next is going to be the defending champion here, number 24, Starsman Enterprises entry of Mike Bearpark right here, as he takes the time to warm up those tires. He's certainly going to be looking already to defend the title here for the first round of the 20. It's going to be the second season, I'm sorry, of the IndyCar of the Future Championship. And as Alexander Earhart continues to make his in-lap in, what a stellar drive for him right there, for that man, for that driver right there. And Mr. Mike Bearpark making his way for the second to final corner right here, for the letting the power out right there on the final straight. He lets the power out right there, lets off the power, still trying to get those heat into those tires, trying to get as much heat as possible to get the maximum amount of grip on these really hard, racing hard compounds. And then he lets on the power for the final corner. He's going to try and take this final corner flat out. Has to let out, but he's really going to try and get the most amount of time he can out of that car. And he makes the first corner right there, en route towards the end of the first sector right there. Turns 2 and turn 3, the S's, like I said, very high demanding. Turn 4, a very hard left-hander. You can see, oh, he's getting a little sideways right there. He's trying to really push out of that Red Bull X2014 Junior right there. He's really trying to push the maximum amount of power he can out of that thing. Remember, this is a spec series. There is no balance of performance whatsoever in this series. So that on every single car has the same amount of horsepower, amount of weight, and he's getting more sideways out of the second to final corner, letting the power down very early indeed. Now, with the lack of downforce, be really trying to set the hell out. He's going to take the final corner here. He's going to definitely take it at a little less speed than Alexander Earhart did. But what can he do right there? It is going to be a 53-2. It is not going to be enough for pole position, as Alexander Earhart still, in fact, has the pole position by some close margin. That's going to be probably less than 2/10 of a second right there. And what a lap put in by the Brit. Now keep in mind, this is his USA account that he's running on, but he's in fact from the United Kingdom. So what a stellar drive for the Brit right there, as he takes it into the pits. And for the final car to qualify, the fourth entry here, that will be the number 63 PRT competition entry of Alexander Heinen, indeed. And as we take a look here at before we make this qualifying run. And as you can certainly see, he's definitely trying he's definitely trying to get the most amount of power he can out of that Red Bull. For the final corner, he's definitely going to warm up those tires. And he's definitely going to try and get the power down early, as he lets the power down after the second to final corner. He's definitely going to try and take as much power as he can out of the final corner. A very high speed speed. Very high demanding corner. How much curve is he going to take? Oh, he's just right at the apex. Not any curving at all. Oh, he gets a little sideways out of the out of the pitch straight right there, but he's definitely trying to push that, and then he goes a little wide into turn 1. But does he cut back down? Yes, he does. But that's gonna, how much time is that gonna cost him right there as he heads to sector 1? And for the very tricky turn 4 right there, the little left-hander that can catch a lot of people off guard if you're not careful on the braking. And as he goes under the Dunlop Bridge for exit of turn 5 and the turn 6 right now, and he will go to the second to final corner right there. The very high demanding right-hander that really tightens up as the hairpin before he lets the power down out for the longest straight, the fastest straight off the course, and for the once again coming down to the final corner, the very high speed right-hander. How much is he going to let loose? He's not letting loose. He's carrying 3/4 throttle. How much is it going to cost him? And it's going to be a 53.285. What a stellar lap right there for the German driver. A very close, a very tightly packed, a very tightly packed qualifying session for the top 3 right there. It's going to be 53 flat for Alexander Earhart, 53.2 for Mitch Bearpark in the 24, and then a 53.268 for the 63 PRT competition. And as we have possibly one more entry going to be joining us, and it looks like he's just going to barely make qualifying. That is going to be most likely the HRSC, or I'm sorry, the MMR/HRSC Racing entry of Pedro Hask, the Portuguese driver, making his effort into the series. So as we wait for the Portuguese entry of Pedro Hask in the Red Bull 2014 Junior, we will wait for that driver to make his way to the track. So unfortunate for all those that missed the qualifying lap. There was a bit of a connection issue on my end, and I apologize for all that. But it's enough for Pedro to qualify 4th ahead of the 74. That is Statis. So there is the entry for Pedro Harsk, the number, and I want to assume it's the. I'm not too sure on what entry that is, but we are about to start the Fujibotsu 60 here, and I will give the cue to start the race. So as we wait for the race officials to let the cars on the track right now, let's take a quick moment to run down the paddock here for these guys. Now we'll start off with the number 24 here. Now that is the defending series champion, Mike Bearpark, at the wheel of that SSC entry. The team very well renowned within the GORO paddock here. They have clinched many GTC titles here in the organization here. And now we will wait for them to probably clinch another title here as they come in as the series defending champion here. And now runner-up in the championship is the 74, piloted by Statis Kokorogiannis. Now that team had a really strong running, but only lost the championship out by 2 points, unfortunately. So very strong run for that team right there. And very strong for them to be coming back here into the series. And now the team that has entered this series third in the standings here. And now the team that has entered this series. So as we look at the field here for the start of the season 2 of the global online racing organization Indycar of the Future here at Scuba Circuit for the Fujibotsu 60 right here. Now it looks like the field now under pace lap conditions right here. Remember that. Now the time remaining says it's now the time to start it, but keep in mind it is dependent on the pace that these guys do their 1 lap pace lap. And then they double file up on the front of the long straight in the back, and then that's where they do start the race. And so these guys right now already going around for the pace lap right here. We can get a very good idea of the field as a whole. Let's try this again. I'm sorry, let me try this again. There we go. So let's take a look at the number 39 from the rear view right here, as it looks like that the field is going to double file up right there as the number 24. He pulls alongside, and the number 24 going to pull alongside, along with the rest of the field. Right there, with the 74 lingering back right now. It's all going to be on the pace of the first man pole position right there, and it's going to be green flag conditions right here almost. When's he going to let it go? And it's green flag conditions here. We are racing here for the Fujibotsu 60, and it is going to be, oh, it's going to be all so close into turn number 1 here. Oh, and it looks like Pedro's going to try to make a move. Oh, and he's forced, oh, he's forced wide. Oh, and there's a big contact right now. That's a huge crash. That's going to involve 3 cars, and that's going to be Pedro probably making it through, and that's going to involve the 74 and the 24, defending series champion, and the full course yellow is deployed already off the bat. That was major glitch right there. Now, we're not able to show the replay, unfortunately, but it definitely looked like the number 5 had forced the 24 off, and then unfortunately came back on track with very little downforce, and unfortunately collected the 74 of Statis GORO-eSports right there. And unfortunately, that is going to be under safety car conditions right there, as the full course yellow comes right back on out right there. What a dramatic way to start this season once again, and it looks like going to be the 3rd place car, the 4th place car, and the 5th place car all going to be coming in here for routine service right there. What a dramatic way to start this series once again for the Fujibotsu 60 here, sponsored by Go Customized and Fanatec, run by the Global Online Racing Organization right there. The 24 right now coming into its pit stop right here. Now, obviously, it's weird on camera for the wheels here to be changed, but keep in mind these cars don't go through a lot of its tires right there, and the SSC entry could be lost out of the pit box, and then it's going to be the HRSC entry right there, and it's going to be the number 5 entry right there, and then obviously the number 74 right there. So as the field goes up to behind the leading 39 entry, and then the 2nd place 63 entry of Alexander Hart and Alexander Heinen respectively, it looks like he's going to slow down the field right there to bunch them back up, and because it looks like we're about to go green flag conditions here next time by for these cars. And let's see what's going to happen right here as these guys come around to the final corner almost. It's going to be dependent on the leader right there for when they bring the green flag back on out. So let's see here as we prepare ourselves for this race right here. It's going to be dependent on the leader right here. When does he pull down the green flag? And it looks like he's going to pull down the green flag now. And as Alexander Hart storms off into the lead, Porsche turn 1, the field Porsche spread out now, and Pedro Hart's got a good start off the restart right there. He really timed that restart to perfection right there. Now it's going to be close racing here for these two. And look how close it is between the 63 and the 5 of Alexander Heine and Pedro Hart. And look at this right here. Pedro Hart's already up the rear wing and the rear diffuser of the 63 right here. It's going to be close racing here between these 5 cars right here. And it looks like the 63 now pulling away a little bit right now, purple sectoring. But obviously, these lap times will get the trouble right now, and already Pedro's already probably opened the door. And it looks like Mike Bearpark has gotten past the 74 of Statis GORO-eSports in the final corner right there. And that's a position made up for the defending series champion right there, as it looks to set his sights on the number 5, which is probably going to be easy right there. And everyone's going to use the AstroTurf right there, trying to use up that as much as possible right there. And it looks like Pedro Hart's probably inviting the door open right there. No! A little sideways right there between the 5 and the 24, but all recovered right there between the 2 cars. Oh, and it looks like Statis is going to try and make a move down the inside of Mike Bearpark right now. These 2 are going sideways for 4th place overall. But Statis is not able to hold it up, and Mike Bearpark going on the dirt once again. And this is very close racing for these 2 guys who finished 1st and 2nd in the Season 1 championship respectively. Keep in mind, Mike Bearpark champion winner, and took home the IOTF title first time by. Statis, who finished runner-up in the series, 2 points behind, had a shot, led the way into championship in the final standings. Last race out in Blue Moon Bay in this first season, but however finished a lofty and very miserable P3 or P4, either one of those positions, or I'm sorry, P4 right there for the young green right there, and already Pedro Haas now already under pressure from the well-experienced Mike Nepog as he's gained a little bit. Oh, and this is going to be close contact right here. And look at this right there. He's going to try and force one on the outside of the Portuguese driver, but Pedro Haas is definitely going to have the line. And oh, and it looks like there's a bit of contact right there. And Mike Nepog sends one down the inside. Obviously not going to get the slipstream right here, but definitely now going to get it right here. But look at the speed that Mike Nepog is going to gain on Pedro Haas due to that slipstream right there. These cars are very aerodynamically efficient right here between the circuit right here. Very short circuit indeed. And Alexander Earhart pulling a massive 2.3 second lead right here. Oh, and look at this! Mike Bearpark and Pedro Haas side by side in the turn one. Sorry, I completely missed that. But this is completely intense racing that is unfolding right here between these two cars. Maybe Santis is going to get involved right here. Is there possibly damage between the 24 right there as it's going a little bit slower right here? But these two guys are really holding themselves up from the top two, which is Alexander Earhart and Alexander Hein right there. And Mike Bearpark is sent one down the inside, but is Pedro Haas going to take the position back? No, he is not. Mike Bearpark with an immense dive bomb on the inside, a legit pass into the second and final corner right there. What a stellar move right there for the number 24, and that is how you win championships right there. What an impressive drive for the Brit right there. And now he sets his sights onto the top two of this race. And it looks like Pedro Haas now is definitely going to try and find a way to get the position back probably, but he's definitely squandering off, and he's definitely gaining a lot of time away from the Portuguese driver right here. And this has certainly gotten itself very feisty indeed into the first 10 minutes of this race. Very dramatic indeed for these 5 cars, even though it's only a 5-car grid. There's a lot of action to be had still in the IndyCar Future race, sponsored by Go Customized and Fanatec indeed. And as the two leaders right now pulling away still, Alexander Earhart has now pulled out a 3.3 second lead to the second place car of Alexander Heinen right there. This driver right here, one of the fastest in the GORO paddock right here, is definitely making a name for himself right here, and he's definitely pulling away again. And as we look on right there, and it looks like possibly the 63 is going to probably lose into the gaps and to the hands of the 24 right here. And this is certainly impressive stuff that we're seeing right here between these two cars. So as we look upon and beyond that nice chrome purple entry right there, and it certainly sounds like that these guys are certainly getting sideways right here, and it's definitely going to be right here between these cars right here, and definitely using the AstroTurf right there is all the cars right here. Now track limits is very well defined here, but you can certainly use the AstroTurf out of the final corner right there for the most amount of speed that you can get out of these Red Bull Junior cars right here. Now it's obviously certain that these guys are going to certainly push themselves flat out. When do you start conserving the fuel? When do you start conserving the tires? Or when you start pushing the fuel or pushing the tires right there to try and make up ground right there? And now it looks like Alexander Heinen has set a purple sector 2 right here. He's definitely on a charge right now, but he's definitely falling way back. Can he set himself the overall fastest lap of the race right there? With Mike Bearpark setting an impressive 53.159. That's definitely faster than the pole position lap. That's definitely almost quicker than the pole position last time. And Alexander Earhart setting a fastest lap of the race, and already Mike Bearpark setting a faster 53.021 right there. These guys are absolutely flying right here, and it's all going to be very, very close indeed between these 5 cars right here. And it's going to all certainly go into, it's definitely certainly going to be close between these 2 drivers right here. When do you start pushing the car or conserving the fuel and the tires? Well, we will find out. Here shortly. I'm gonna take a break. I will be back on in about 2 minutes time. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the sights and sounds. I come back to the commentary box right here, see the max check right here, and it looks like the 63 right now, really under pressure. Oh, and it looks like a spin as I come back to the commentary box. Oh, that is going to be major contact right there. Oh, that's going to benefit a lot of these cars right here. The 39 going into the pits right here. But what a dramatic jump defense as I come back to the commentary box right there. Now, obviously, you were seeing a lot of sights and noises right there between these cars right here, but that is going to be dramatic fashion right there, as the 24 obviously going to try and avoid a penalty right there, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. Now that's going to be up to the stewards after the race if they want to enforce post-race penalties right there, as the 63 comes to its pits box right there, and he's certainly going to just be in for fixing the damage right there, whatever it may be. Suspension link may be broken, we're not too sure. But what a turn of dramatic events indeed for a lot of these cars right here. The 24 possibly having some damage, we're not too sure on that, but the 39 has made a pit stop, and it's going to promote Pedro Harsk into the lead of this race. What dramatic drama indeed in the first, or just over 15 minutes to go. Oh, what a sideways moment right there for the number 5. of Pedro Hartz. They're really trying to show off his expertise right there with that Red Bull. Now coming in qualifying, having to get that car really packed out and ready to go here today for the Fujibotsu 60 here, sponsored by Go Customize and Fanatec. But right behind him, still trying to pressurize him, is the 74 runner-up in the champion standings for Season 1 of the IndyCar The Future Series. Here is Statis Kokoro-Giannis right there in the 74, Red Bull X 2014 Junior right there. Now, obviously, Alexander Earhart really having to make the trying time back, but obviously, when do you come in and when do you service that car? These guys are going really long here, and they're certainly taking the final corner out of there. Oh, and Pedro again getting sideways right there. Is that a tall tale sign right there that Pedro's tires might be going off the cliff right there? We're not too sure, sure to find out right there. But that right there is impressive car control, especially with cars that have very little downforce on them. And that's just impressive driving right there by the Portuguese, just to save the car. Not a whole lot of people can do that, but he's certainly got the skills to be able to do that on most circumstances. So now we'll take a look back at the number 63 PRT competition entry of Alexander Heiden, who has really fallen back right there. He is a lofty 16 or 18 seconds behind. I'm not sure which one that is, but certainly he's got a lot of time to make back up right here for the for this race right there. Now, obviously, when do you come in for the pits is the question for the top two, of course. Now, obviously, third and fifth have definitely made pit stops. Alexander Heiden has made a pit stop just to fix the damage. He's still on the same set of tires from the beginning of the race, and what is going on right there? And oh! And that's the pole sitter right there! Alexander Earhart off in the gravel trap. That's giving Mike Bearpark a free position indeed, but it looks like Alexander Earhart, maybe his tires are starting to go, and oh! And he's getting really sideways. That's probably a tall tale sign. And keep in mind, he just came into the pits. So we're trying to find out what has happened right there, as the number 39, again, who had led from the get-go, had to make the pit stop, but has certainly lost a bit of time, and has certainly cost him a position to the 24, who had already obviously had been involved in the incident with the 63 and himself, after probably having the door shut on him. But that was quite the dramatic stuff right there between those two right there. And so now we will go back up to the top two, of course, and that is the number 5 still leading this race, with Statis Kokoro-Giannis in a little over 1.6 seconds behind. Pedro Hartz, oh! He's on the grass! Oh, and this is going to give Statis the run to try and take the lead, and that gap is immediately closing, and oh! In the background, the 24 of Mike Bearpark has gone around, and this is all unfolding for these 5 drivers right here, and this is certainly changed a lot right here, and a lot has gone on within the first 20 minutes of this race. A lot still to be had, of course, but Pedro Hartz getting on the grass, and then Mike Bearpark sending it around out of the final corner right there. And is that a sign for his tires that probably going? Oh, and he's already off in the grass once again, as he obviously sets a faster lap of a 52.740. But that is very dramatic stuff right there that's happening for the SSE driver, the defending series champion. Oh, and he's getting sideways again. He is not going to stop going sideways, of course, unless he probably has a change for a new set of tires right there as he rides the curbing a little bit. This has encouraged the SSE driver to come in and make the change for a new set of rubber. It doesn't look like he is, due to a drone shot right here. Gonna take the final corner, of course, not using the apex, probably use a little bit of curbing though, but certainly he's definitely lost a lot of pace due to that spin right there. And obviously Alexander Earhart, with that off in the gravel, has obviously gained that position back due to Mike Bearpark's major spin out of the second and final corner right there. And obviously Pedro Hart's getting that gap back up to 1.3 seconds indeed for the lead of the race right here. Now this is certainly obviously going to most likely change the outcome of this race, where we have the top two leaders who still have yet to make a pit stop. The number 39 has made a pit stop, and obviously he might be making up a lot of ground, of course, to try and get back up to these top two right here. The number 24, Mike Bearpark, has yet to make a pit stop, as a matter of fact. Actually, no, he has made one at the beginning of the race for servicing damage, and actually, no, I stand corrected. All of these guys have made a pit stop. I'm sorry. Pedro Hart and Constantis have made damage fixes due to the incident at the beginning of the race. Mike Bearpark, too, had to make adjustments to the race. And then, obviously, Alexander Hart and Alexander Heinen making their respective pit stops, obviously. So, to confirm, everyone has made a pit stop. So, it's a question of when do these tires give out and when is it a sign for all of these cars to come into the pits and get another change of tires, of course. So we still have about 37 minutes to go here in the opening round of Season 2 of the IndyCar of the Future here. Round 1 is the Fujibotsu 60, sponsored by Go Customized and Fanatec, of course. Now, Pedro Hart setting a fastest purple sector 1 right there. Now, is he on a charge right here to certainly try and challenge for the fastest lap of the race right here, which certainly could pay dividends later in the race. Now, obviously, he's not gone fastest in Sector 2. He doesn't have the purple sector there, right there. And as you can see in the background, the 39 is wancing its way on back up right here. And that gap just seems to come further and further and further down. Oh, maybe going back up a little bit away from the 74 of Statis Giannis, who's Pedro, and both of them really using the AstroTurf right there. Now, keep in mind, track limits are defined here, but you can use the AstroTurf out of the exit of the final corner to help you get the optimum fastest lap. So for most of these guys, it's going to be a case of when do you come in for the pits right now, because obviously you have the 24 and the 63 who have fallen way back, of course, so it's going to be certainly a question of who takes the win right there. And all it looks like, we're getting rumored that the 63 has come in for the pits. Yes, he certainly has, as the crew now waits for him to come back down this very short and very narrow pit straight here. He comes in for the pits right there. What is he doing there? Oh, I'm getting rumored that it's just for engine fix. Is he taking any tires? No, he is not. So has he gone off somewhere? Oh, and that's going to make him fall down off the lead lap. Unfortunate news for the 63 right there, who is now off the lead lap. It's a little sideways right there. So that, unless a full course tailor comes out, that might be race done for them right there, who still try and charge on. But the fourth place, Mike Bearpark, number 24 right there, who's still trying to make up time right there. He's certainly trying to make up the time, but he's a lofty 19 seconds behind the third place car of Alexander Earhart, and a even lengthier 28 seconds behind the leading Red Bull X 2014 junior Pedro Hart of MMR HRSC Racing right there. And Mike Bearpark getting a little more sideways right there. These cars obviously have a lot less downforce, or at least I think, in Season 2, because I definitely certainly did 2 starts, or 3 starts with this car last season. And certainly it's these guys trying to make up the pace right there. And Alexander Earhart setting a fastest Sector 1, so certainly a purple Sector 1 right there. Could it be from getting the toe of that lapped car? We're not too sure, but it could be that Alexander Earhart could be a ways away from the lead. And oh, he certainly fell off in Sector 2, only a 10th quicker than his fastest lap right there. And Alexander Earhart obviously still trying to find time to at least catch up to the leaders, of course. But when does the leaders coming for the pit right there, because obviously with about 34 minutes to go, or just over 34 minutes to go, it's going to be a case of when do these guys come in, as Alexander Earhart sets his fastest lap of the race right there. He is certainly on a charge right there to try and make the comeback off after that spin or off into the gravel trap right there. So as we look on for the remainder of this Fujibotsu 60 right here, and there we'll go on board with the 74 here, the very, very powerful 2000cc inline 4-cylinder, making about just under 250 horsepower right here. High grip and obviously high force down characteristics, of course, but obviously that downforce probably might have been reduced. Don't want to go in the gravel, not in the gravel, I'm sorry. You don't want to get in the tire bits right there, because you don't want that getting on your tires and affecting the grip of the vehicle overall. And that's obviously right there. Oh, and that's going to be Alexander Heinen giving the blue flags to let the 39 by, obviously. And obviously that's another car that Alexander Heinen has had to let by, unfortunately. We'll go on board with the leading number 5 car of Pedro Harsh right here. Now, obviously this could be a position where they might have not expected to be in the turn of events that have been going on for this car. They've had to rebuild the car after an incident, and obviously that team right there doing a well impressive job to be in the position that they are right here. 30 laps have been completed in this opening, actually no, I'm sorry, 29 laps if you minus the pace lap. 29 laps have been completed here in the Fujibotsu 60 right here. And certainly it's going to be a case of when you come in for the pit stop, of course. So obviously, oh, Pedro gets a little into the tire bombers a little bit, but I don't think it's certainly affecting the grip of the tires that well. Now obviously here's a back shot of the number 5 entry right there as it goes through the final corner right there. Really hugging the apex right there, going towards the exit and to the AstroTurf of the final corner. Now Pedro Harsh still really, really well impressed in his fastest lap range right there. Only 45,000 slower than his fastest lap in the race. He's doing very well consistently right here, as he's already grown the gap to 2.7 seconds, I'm sorry, ahead of the 74 of Statis Giannis. And like I said, as we pay attention to this field right here, when do they come in for the pit stops? So that's going to be something to keep an eye on for, as these cars now certainly make their way around the Tsukuba circuit right here. The very small yet drift car friendly circuit right here, due to the, I would say, 3 hairpins of turn 1, turn 4, and turn 7. And you got the big old sweeping right-hander of turn 8, where you can certainly hold the car right out there if you are drifting around here, of course, or in the case of Pedro Harsh going sideways into turn 1. You can do that too, but you don't want to do that for too often and decrease your gap a little bit. But of course, Pedro Harsh now increasing the gap to 3.1 seconds right here. He is certainly on a charge right here to possibly win this race with just over a little half an hour to go in this race. So the big question here is, when do these guys come in for a new set of tires? Especially after making adjustments in the beginning of the race. So this is going to be a very strategic. So obviously it's kind of a very low action-packed race at the moment, but it's certainly going to be very well strategic right there. Oh, and Pedro Harsh getting a little sideways right there, but obviously the downforce was able to keep him in a straight line, of course. So that's going to be a very, very interesting thing to keep an eye on. You don't want to keep going too sideways, obviously, but obviously you want to not throw it away in the grass, like other people have in this race. Very interesting point to take a look at right here, as Alexander Earhart has definitely closed the gap on the second place number 74 Stockton's Giannis right there, and the 39 now possibly trying to make a move for third as we take an onboard ride with the 39 from the specialty nose cam right here, and certainly the 74 within frame right here. And is this the time range to think about pit stops right here? Is the question right here. These guys going a really long time on these set of tires. Is the tire management definitely more efficient and manageable than the first season? That could be the case right here. And obviously it's going to be very, very intense to see what happens right there. The gap between second and third, only 1.1 seconds right there between Stockton's Giannis and Alexander Earhart, between the Greek entry and the German entry right there. And will the pole sitter be able to try and make his way up from the man who is actually qualified 5th? So this is certainly an interesting play of turn of events right here between the 5th place starting car and the pole sitting car right there. So this is going to be a battle of trying to keep the gap between one another and between how can you be able to manage tires. Oh, Stockton's going a little wide out of the front corner right there. How much can you push out of these Red Bull 2014 juniors right there? Oh, and Stockton's. Is the tire life on that number 74 starting to go awry as the 39 thinks about making a move on the second place car right there? Oh, and Stockton's is really losing a lot of time. Went down from 1.1 seconds to 0.4 of a second right there. This is certainly going to get very intense here, very rapidly indeed. But when does... Oh, is he going to make a move out in the second final corner right there? No, he's not. He's going to follow him suit. But obviously he's going to try and get the toe in right there. And this is certainly going to be very, very intense indeed right there. Alexander Earhart thinking to move about the inside in the final corner. The very demanding high-speed final corner right here. Oh, and this is certainly going to be very intense right there. Is Alexander Earhart on the rear. Oh, and it looks like he's going to get on the AstroTurf a little sideways right there. Possibly having a lot of wheel lock right there, but obviously having to keep that car on the AstroTurf. That was an impressive duty right there by Alexander Earhart, and this has now certainly gotten things really heated up here really quickly indeed. So will the 39 think about, is he thinking about pouncing in another section of the course right here, or is he going to think about pouncing in the same section of the course right there as he comes by to the hairpin one lap later, and Alexander Earhart taking a wider line through, possibly setting himself up for the exit of the corner right there. And he's certainly got the speed and the toe. That gap is starting to come down a little bit, not a whole lot. There's certainly, Stockton's has certainly focused his tune on straight line speed. Alexander Earhart might have focused it on cornering capability right here, and going into turn 1 right here. Stockton's to the inside to defend. Miku on the outside, not going to get anything there. But this has certainly gotten things very intense here indeed as they go into sector 1, turn 3, and turn 4 right here. Stockton's having to defend like crazy from the number 39 right here. Now Alexander Earhart, one of the most experienced drivers in the GORO paddock right here, one of the fastest as well. Oh, Stockton's goes a little wide on the dirt. Oh, he's really gone wide, and that's going to force an issue out of that driver. And Alexander Earhart has taken second place in this following battle right there. What an impressive effort for the number 3 right there, and he's having to defend from the lapped car. Has Alexander Earhart gone a little wide? We're about to find out right here. Alexander Earhart using the apex and the curbing. Oh, and Stockton's has gone in the wall. That is dramatic that is dramatic stuff right there. and that has forced the 74, the then second place running car, into the tire barriers. He certainly seemed to get that car running, but he's definitely going to lose a lot of time to the 4th place entry of Mike Bearpark right there. He's got to make his way back to the pits as soon as possible right there. And now, obviously, he's losing a lot of time to Pedro Harsk as well as to Alexander Earhart. That was not Alexander Earhart's fault. I think he just got a lot of dirty air right there and had just probably got himself in the wall. So is this probably going to provoke a pit stop for the 74 right here? And it certainly is indeed. He's going to make the right-hand turn into the pits. And there is the 74 pit crew waiting for the car to come down pits and into the pit stall, of course. Will this be a change of tires for the first time since the early stages of this race? It probably most certainly likely is going to be. Yes, it is, for a fresh set of Pirelli tires on that number 74 right there. And obviously that car now out, pit stops very quick, and there is the 3rd place car of Mike Bearpark just coming out in front of the 74. Now he has already lost 2 positions, Statis has. That is not good news for that driver right there. So does this shake things up and is possibly gonna at least probably make some cars come into the pits for a possible another pit stop right here, is the question with 23 minutes to go. Now obviously, if you're the leader, or some of the other guys here, you're thinking to yourself, do you come in for the tires, of course? But with Stati's about 26 seconds to go, he's going to have a lot of ground to make up in that car. So it's going to be a case of how is this all going to play out, of course, between the 2 cars right here. And this is certainly going to be interesting indeed as a whole. So it's obviously going to get very intense if Statis can catch on up, of course, to the number 24. And we're certainly going to possibly be in for a very, very interesting end to this race, as the 3rd and 4th place cars round the 2nd final corner another time. It's going to be a case of when do the leaders come in for their new set of tires right there. Oh, and is that Pedro Harsk who's gone a little wide out of turn 4? We're not too sure on that. He definitely was looking slow coming out of that corner right there. Possibly lost a couple tenths to the 2nd place GT Boca Renaissance entry of Alexander Earhart right there. And the lapped car of Alexander Heinen now, who obviously is still behind the leader of these 2 cars, trying to gain some time back, obviously. And it's going to be a case of when do you come into the pits, or if the tires can hold out, because if the tires can hold out, that would be very surprising indeed for how light the cars are and how little downforce they can rely on, of course. These are not the best aerodynamically efficient cars in the world, of course, but they can certainly be little track day monsters, and in the case of the Global Online Racing Organization, the star-studded cars for a series like the Indycar of the Future, sponsored by Go Customized and Fanatec, of course. And the gap between the front 2 runners now only 2.7 seconds, and keeping consistent between the 2 drivers. It looks like Miku has gained about a 10th out of there in the final corner. And it looks like Pedro Harsk now gaining that 10th back. Oh, and it looks like, hold on, is he maybe losing a lot of time right here to the 2nd place car right there? We'll about to find out here in obviously 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes as a matter of fact. And certainly things have gotten between very, very close for 1st and 2nd, of course, and at the same time, not quite there, but 3rd and 4th, with Statis and Mike Bearpark obviously going to be fighting it out and squaring it out for third. With 43 laps complete right here, going to make it the 43rd lap complete, of course, entering lap number 44. And keep in mind, it might say lap 45, but keep in mind that they did do the pace lap. So subtract 1 from 45 and you get 44, so they would be on lap 44. Now I'm going to take a quick break once again, about less than 20 minutes ago. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the sights and sounds of these Red Bull X2014 cars with their inline 4-cylinder engines producing about 250 horsepower. So as I come back here to the paddock, not the paddock, the commentary box right here, the gap now between the two leaders now only less than a half a second right here, as Alexander Earhart has really been pushing that RBX 2014 Junior out of its living, of course, to try and get up into the front here between the top two right here, between Pedro Harsh and Alexander Earhart, of course. Now, of course, this is the Fujibotsu 60 presented by Go Customized and Tech here. We still have just over 17 minutes to go in the first running of this race. And Statis Kokrogiannis has come in for another pit stop. So what has happened right there for the Coca Racing driver right there and for the car, of course. And that's a weird sight to see right there as the car is obviously gone. So that's kind of funny. Oh, there it is. And it sounded like he was repairing for damage, of course. So that was a bit peculiar right there. But let's go back up to this lead battle right here between Alexander Earhart and Pedro Harsh right there. Now Pedro Harsh has been consistently holding the lead, of course, for the majority of this race ever since the first lap dilemma between a lot of these cars and between the drama between the then leading Alexander Earhart, who made the pit stop, but between Mike Bearpark and Alexander Heinen between a spin at that very exact corner of the exit of turn 8, or I'm sorry, turn 7. So they come around for, once again, the final corner with just over about less than 60 minutes to go in this race right here, and it's certainly still within 6/10 between first and second place within this race. This is certainly going to get very interesting indeed on how these two drivers race each other 1v1 right here. Now, obviously, third place, who is Mike Bearpark, who is actually at the final corner, so he's a ways away from this lead pack right here, 21 seconds away from the leaders of the race, and Statis and even further, 23 seconds behind. So it's already going to be game over for those guys unless FCY comes out, of course. But it's certainly going to be very enthralling between these two right here, as Alexander Earhart has got the toe on the number 5 HRC car. He pulls onto the inside. Is he thinking about making a move on the inside? He's thinking about it, of course, but Pedro Harsh still defending that inside line. Oh, and look at Alexander Earhart using the maximum amount of AstroTurf right there that he can out of that Red Bull right there. Now, of course, track limits, of course, very strictly defined, but you can use that AstroTurf for the maximum amount of grip out of that final corner right there. And Alexander Earhart just harassing the rear diffuser and rear wing out of Pedro Harsh right there. Can Pedro Harsh defend from the leader? Oh, and he's made him error! Oh, and that's not going to be contact right there. Was there slight contact between the two drivers right there? We're not too so sure, but it looked like Pedro Harsh got sideways and sent the rear of that Red Bull into the side of the number 39, of course. That obviously is shaking it sideways, and Pedro Harsh is going to come in to possibly fix that damage right there. And it looks like Alexander Earhart may have been on the receiving end of that, and that might not be the best way to overtake for a position, of course. But unfortunately, I think Alexander Earhart might have gotten away from that incident unscathed. Nothing seems to be broken right there. And when does Mike Bearpark come out? And he comes out, oh well, way ahead of the number 5. And Pedro Harsh has now certainly fallen down the ranking order here, of course. And with the whole field mostly spread out right there. And it looks like that could be the end of the race right there, unfortunately speaking. And Alexander Earhart, with just over 13 minutes to go, leads the motor race for the first time since taking pole position and hitting out of the lead, as a matter of fact. So it's certainly going to be interesting there. And he sets the fastest lap of a 52.6. That lap time is the fastest lap is absolutely tumbling between the top 2 drivers, of course. And it's going to be a case of who gets the fastest lap at the end of the race right there. It's going to be between Alexander Earhart and Mike Bearpark, of course. And those are 2 very well-renowned drivers. Very quick indeed in the GORO paddock. So really using the AstroTurf again, and he's already 19 seconds ahead of second place. The number 24 right there. Can Pedro Harsh try and make the move back on up to the number 24? A lot of pit stop action hasn't been going on, of course, between the number 2 between these cars. So it's going to be a case of, can you hold it together within these last 11.5 minutes of this race? Oh, Mike getting sideways once again. Of course, these cars don't have the best rear downforce, but you can certainly keep them intact like that. You can certainly make spectacular moves like that, as long as you keep yourself at bay. Rest of the running order here, it might be staying as is unless the safety car comes out. Now I'm going to step away from the paddock the commentary booth one last time with just about over 10 minutes to go, and we'll let you enjoy one last bit of the sights and sounds here at the Scuba Circuit. Welcome back to the commentary booth here for the last 5 minutes of the Fujibotsu 60 here, sponsored by Go Customized and Fanatec. We are most likely certainly looking to see the results stand as is for the remaining few minutes of this race here. We've completed about almost 60 laps here of the Fujibotsu 60. Now, obviously, it's not, the Fujibotsu 60 is not the lap distance, but is instead the distance by the time. So it is a timed event rather than a per lap event. And we will have three other 60-minute event races, and then we will have a 236 lap event, which will be 2 separate 118 lap races, and then we will have another 150 lap race as our finale later this season right here. But as we take another bold look at the leading car, that is still the 39 of Alexander Earnhardt, who has just seen him come back from, who hasn't really had a lot of mistakes here, except for one visit to the gravel trap out of turn 4, really on the outside, cost him a position, but then lost position to Mike Bearpark, gained that position back after Mike Bearpark had a spin out of turn 7, where he had exited and had gone into the grass on the inside. So that was quite unfortunate right there. Now, obviously, rounding turn 4 once again, and then going towards the turn 5 just before the Dunlop Bridge, and then turn 6, of course. Now, of course, we will most likely see the results as is for the remaining 2.5 minutes here of this race. So Mike Bearpark obviously in second place after Pedro Harris had to make a late pit stop right there, possibly played into contact of between the race leader and Pedro Harris, campaigning at number 5. So we are about to find out here if anything, Pedro Harris has anything to respond to Mike Bearpark with after he came out of the pits very, very late behind the 24. And Mike Bearpark, who has had a lot of incidents in this race, was able to recover just only 13 seconds behind the race leader here. He had that one incident at the beginning of the race, had his own spin in turn 7, and then same spot, turn 7, had basically forced Alex around. However, probably gave him the room. Maybe Alex probably came down on the inside. They'll probably deem most of those race incidents, but penalties in the form of post-race penalties will be inferred later after the race. So we'll go down to the third place standing, number 5 entry, MMR HRC Racing of Pedro Harris right here. Now that team obviously started from 4th, but led a fair bit of this race on that same set of tires right there. They haven't really been using a whole lot of that compound, of course, but obviously the driver having to certainly make up the lost time right here. So obviously, as we come by with just under 1 minute to go here, we'll take a further look at the 39 right here, who has certainly just paced away in this race after a bit of an unfortunate overtake on the 5 of Pedro Harris, who had to make a pit stop. It's uncertain if that car is damaged too, but we'll come to the white flag with just 35 seconds to go. It's going to be the white flag for the number 39 entry of Alexander Earnhardt, who starts number lap 65 right here, about 13 seconds ahead of the second place car, so he has a ways away to go in that entry. And Pedro Harris still in 3rd, Statis Kokorogiannis in 4th, and then Alexander Highland, who's still behind the leader, sits 1 lap behind in 5th in the PRT competition entry. So now with just about 5 seconds to go, the leader will come around turn 7 for one last time. Of course, it is the final lap right now, and he will come down the long straight, the back straight one last time on route to turn number 8 right there. Now, obviously, it has been a rather chaotic and dramatic race from the get-go, but rounding the final corner one last time, it is going to be the number 39 GT Boca Renaissance entry of Alexander Earhart, who takes the checker flag and wins the Fujibotsu 60 in spectacular style. Obviously, he didn't have to ram into the wall, but obviously he did. And Mike Bearpark coming home in second place after a strong recovery after a lot of miscue incidents. And then Pedro Hartz coming in a hard-fought third place. And that right there is the Fujibotsu 60 right there. Alexander Earhart with the win and taking the points leadings in this race right there. So the celebrations in victory lane here for the GT Boca Renaissance driver right there. We will invite him into the commentary box here pretty soon. But what a spectacular style for these drivers right here. And obviously it's been a long race for most of these drivers right here. So we're going to start inviting quite a bit of these drivers right here. So Alexander Earhart with the win here at the Fujibotsu 60. Now, Alex, why don't you take us down the strategy that you had here to take the to be able to take the win here for the Fujibotsu 60 here today.
Yeah, I had the luck to be on pole. And then, yeah, it was basically blowing away from the back with clean air. And then after first focus yellow, I stayed out. But then at the second crash with Mikey and Alex, where only Alex got damaged, I predicted that the focus yellow will come out. So I had my one pit stop done, and it didn't happen, and I had to come back.
Awesome.
And also, I'm really sorry to Pedro that I hit him a bit while overtaking. I don't know if this racing is
Awesome, good to hear that. There's the winner of the Fujibotsu 60 right there, Alexander Earhart in the 39 GT Boca Renaissance entry right there. And now we're going to bring in Mike Bearpark, who had finished second in the Starscream Enterprises entry right there. And Mike, did you certainly feel like you had the pace to win in today's race? But after those unfortunate miscue events, did you feel like the win had gone away from you right there?
It would have taken a bit of luck. I think if we could make a pit stop, yeah, I probably won that. But I don't make it very well. He wouldn't have given away with my belt.
And did you also feel like the contact between Alex was either your fault, or was it probably Alex trying to close the door on you out of turn 7?
I'm going to take responsibility for that. I think I was a little bit too hasty on the exit, and it was just a touch, and it sent it around. I did wait for it. Turns out he had damage. So.
Now, obviously, the spin out of turn 7 right there, was that kind of your own fault, or was that something with the car that kind of played a factor right there with your spin right there? Gotcha. All right. And that is the second place entry right there of Mike Bearpark, obviously. And we will bring in Pedro Hartz right there, the third place entry right there of the number 5 MMR HRSC entry right there. Now, Pedro, why don't you go down? Did you certainly feel like you had the pace to win today outright, or did you feel like you just got lucky into the position that you were in the race?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't expecting the podium because, you know, pre-season I got the worst results, especially on when the first time I went to the track. I finished last. I was really concerned to race because I just bought the car and I had to readapt the tune to the season 2 settings. So I think that the third place was really satisfying, but surprising to me as well, because to be honest, as I said, I was not expecting to win this podium.
Awesome, awesome, wonderful to hear. Driver of the number 5 MMR HRC entry right there, Pedro Harsh, with a very hard-fought third place right there. And now we'll bring in Statis, the driver of the number 74 Coco Racing AMN entry right there. And finally, Statis, unfortunately for the miscue events right there, did you feel like you had the pace to win today?
Of course I did not. I actually had no pace to be in 4th place, but due to circumstances I finished 4th. What can I say? No setup, bad setup. Very understeady car in the last corner, losing 4 tenths at least to everybody else. Couldn't fight actually. Tried to stay with Pedro for the most of the race, then Alex caught me. I had a moment trying to secure my position, and then everything went really, really bad. Lost the place also, and couldn't do anything else.
Unfortunate news there for the driver of the 74 in that car entry right there. And finally, we'll bring in the 5th place finisher, and probably the most disappointed of all, Alexander Heinen. Tell us what happened right there, buddy.
Well, I was unexpectedly fast. I mean, I didn't expect to be to keep up with Beaker and Mikey. Mikey was starting to get closer to me. We got into a battle, and out of the penultimate corner, we somehow got into contact, and which spun me around. I had some damage on the front right. Needed to pit immediately. And that somehow caught me out of my groove. But later on in the race, I got lapped pretty quickly because I had another spin with, unfortunately, again, damage, which I again had to repair. But at around minute 35 to go, I got into my groove again, caught up to the field, but sadly 1 lap behind. I could definitely have gotten to maybe even podium finish, but that's racing. Shit happens. Maybe next race.
Well, you can't win them all here just in racing in general here. That's how racing goes all together here. Now, that has been the Fujibotsu 60, the podium, of course. The top honors going to the 39 of Alexander Earhart, 2nd place Mike Bearpark, and 3rd place Pedro Harsh right there. That has been the Fujibotsu 60, folks. I have been your lead commentator, Trevor Holden, and we'll join you guys next time for the 2nd race, and that will be at Kyoto 60 on the Yamagiwa layout for next week. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Trevor Holden, and all of everyone at Global Online Racing Organization, Go Customize, and Fanatec. I am signing out, and we'll see you guys for the next race. And I'm signing off.